I know you had an amendment on the floor. Tell us about it. I know you had an amendment on the floor. Tell us about it. Tell us about what is important in that amendment.
Right. So my amendment was about what the Republicans have done to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And let me just remind everyone, that's that little agency that has forced giant banks and giant finance companies to return more than $20 billion directly to 203 million people across this country, very popular. And the Republicans, they've actually taken a couple of cuts. They tried to zero out the budget for that agency, which would have meant, of course, that the agency would shut down. The parliamentarians said no, they couldn't do that. That's policy and not budget. But they did manage to persuade the parliamentarian that they could cut the budget, put a cap on the budget that cuts it about in half, just a little less than cutting it in half. And so I stood up and said, let's get rid of that cap. Let's just restore the funding for this little agency so that we have a cop on the beat to help protect everybody who has a.
Just when we thought that the Trump-Musk civil war couldn't get any crazier, we have reached a new low point for them, or I guess a new high point for us. Because when they attack each other, only good things happen for us, as terrible things happen for them. Elon Musk is on the verge of blowing up Donald Trump's budget with threats of primaries against Republicans, and Donald Trump is responding with his own threats. Of course, we saw last night on Truth Social threatening to bankrupt Elon, but he's taken it even further, threatening to deport him. Yes, it has gone to that level. Both of them are tearing each other apart. We are going to get into the screaming meltdown where Donald Trump made that threat in front of the White House. But first, I want to start where he did, attacking Zoron Mamdani.
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. So I think it's bad news, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's crazy.
Donald Trump is very clearly in panic mode and looking for any distraction possible, or looking to really unite his base as much as he can. This is in large part why he started his ICE raids with the National Guard in Los Angeles, because he has touted so much the spending on border enforcement that he is going to be putting in his big bag of garbage bill that Donald Trump doesn't actually care about protecting the border. Donald Trump doesn't really care about anything. He's just trying to get the political win, but he thought if he could start a whole crisis, a faux crisis in California, it could unite the right, but he has failed to do so because this is the most unpopular legislation in history. And Donald Trump continued to look for a new distraction and this horrible meltdown. Talking about Alligator Alcatraz,
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
the cruelty is always the point for Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. What do you mean? You're going to teach people how to run away from alligators. First of all, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose? But this is just a nonsense thing to say. And we saw the White House posting AI images of alligators with ice caps on. I'm surprised they weren't wearing masks and refusing to identify themselves, because that's what actual ICE agents do. But again, this is just a distraction for Donald Trump. So is, of course, him lying about Iran right here. Then we'll see what he had to say. Wrapping up this press conference with an attack on Elon.
We had an incredible, in Iran, we had an incredible success, like really nobody's had in many, many years. That was a precision war strike, and the word obliteration can now be used because the Atomic Energy Commission said you can't even get into the place. It was demolished. It was really demolished. It was a great...
He is so desperate for a win, he will tell any lie to get it. But the lies just keep backfiring on Donald Trump, and unfortunately for him, fortunately for us, because we love to watch it, so do his attacks on Elon. The MAGA base can't stand the infighting. And that's why they're probably going to be pretty upset about this one.
We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about that. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid. Maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem: it blows up. So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
So it was a little loud and difficult to hear that reporter, but of course Donald Trump was asked about Elon, and he said, "Yeah, we're looking into deporting him. We're looking into dozing him." What sweet irony! Chef's kiss. Beautiful. Just absolutely love it. Incredible stuff, guys. Really great work over at Team Trump and pulling this one off. They are going to tear each other apart, and I'm going to enjoy every single second of it. And I am so hoping that it leads to the possibility of this bill blowing up. But someone who gave us a little bit of hope on that. And their fight back was Senator Elizabeth Warren. Right here.
Credit card, a home mortgage, a payday loan, who uses Venmo, who has a checking account for all of those financial transactions. Because when CFPB is not on the beat, the chairman of the Federal Reserve reminded us a couple of months ago, there's nobody at the federal level. So wanted that agency at full strength. Every single Republican voted against that and said, nope, let's basically slash it in half, see if we can sideline that watchdog just as much as the parliamentarian will let us. So that was the vote we did earlier that I was the lead on.
And Senator, I know this isn't your trade, but a year from now, if we were to reduce what those Senate Republicans, that vote, to a 30-second campaign ad against them, what would that Democratic Senate ad say they actually did in that vote?
Your Republican senator voted to make it easier for you to get cheated on your credit card. I don't even need the full 30 seconds.
Yeah, you don't.
You can run another one for mortgages. You can run another one for every single financial product. That's why that little agency is so popular. You know who doesn't like that agency? The Republicans and the giant banks that fund the Republicans. The ones who lost the $20 billion that they had to give up when they got caught cheating people.
Senator, I saw Senator Ossoff had an amendment earlier in the day for a higher tax rate on incomes over $10 million. Incomes over $10 million, and every Republican voted against the possibility of a higher tax rate for incomes only over $10 million, which means it would apply only to the first dollar you earn above $10 million.
Yep, exactly right. Or let me give you another one. Lisa Blunt Rochester earlier today had an amendment that said, I get that you guys are cutting Medicaid, that you want to take away health care from 17 million Americans. But I tell you what, could we all just agree that we're not going to take Medicaid away from brand new babies and their mamas when they're in the hospital giving birth. Could we just do that? And every Republican voted no. We're going to remember those votes, and we're going to make sure the American people remember those votes.
Senator, I know as a member of the Finance Committee, you've had a particular attention on the tax side of this, including your history with the subject of trying to get some kind of taxation that is even slightly realistic on billionaires' income, billionaires' wealth. What is this bill as of tonight, unamended so far by the Democrats? What does it mean for billionaires' income?
This is the staggering part. The Republicans want to take away health care from about 17 million Americans. They want to cut food support for another 4 million Americans. And then they want to use that money to give tax giveaways to billionaires and billionaire corporations. Let me give you just one example on that. Meta, right? They kind of are doing okay, right? What this bill provides is that Meta, on the day that the bill gets signed into law, if it goes through as it is right now, Meta will get a check for $15 billion. That's billion with a B, for doing nothing from this point forward, just for being the golden Meta. And just to remind you, Lawrence, that's more money than the federal government spends in a year on child care for all of our babies. But Meta going to walk away with that $15 billion check. And that's why this bill is so unpopular, not just among Democrats, but among independents and Republicans. And that's why the Democrats' super secret plan here is just to make sure everybody knows the difference between Democrats and Republicans, to keep putting these amendments out there and making those Republicans vote on them.
Senator, in our breaking news coverage of the Senate floor right now, the current vote, as I believe you know, is a vote that says cannot cut food assistance for families with children under the age of 12, I believe. And we're going to see if every Republican indeed does, in this vote to cut food assistance with families of children under 12.
Right. You know, I think here, Lawrence, that the Republicans are just counting on Americans not paying attention. That, you know, somehow they'll get away with this. Or maybe it's what Mitch McConnell said last week at the Republican lunch, when a lot of Republicans were standing up and saying, dang, I'm hearing from people in my home state who are pretty unhappy about cutting medical care, cutting food support, and these big tax giveaways to the billionaires. And Mitch McConnell said, yeah, I know you're hearing from these folks, but they'll get over it. You know, I just think Mitch McConnell is wrong. I think that when we take away health care from mamas and babies, those mamas and babies don't get over it. I think when we take away the wheelchair and the home health aid from your neighbor who was in a car wreck and now has to count on those to be able to get around, he's not going to get over it. And I think when they take away nursing home care for about half of the seniors who live in nursing homes right now, 1 out of 4 nursing homes will probably close. I think that the seniors are not going to get over it. I think their families are not going to get over it. I think America is not going to get over it. This bill tonight.
We have to continue to fight back as much as we possibly can against this bill. If you are in a red state, please call your senators. If you are in a blue state, find a friend in a red state and call their senators. We need to be nonstop with this pushback. We're certainly going to be on this show. I was at the Capitol yesterday talking to folks in the Senate about what we can do, and they need you all, gas, no brakes, fighting back against this. We're going to do so on this show. And thanks for watching this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.